Fox 4 is breaking into regularly scheduled programming right now to bring you this breaking news. President Donald Trump has just landed at RSW in Fort Myers. Vice President Mike Pence landed just a little while ago. Yeah, we saw when Air Force 2 landed a few minutes ago, we saw Governor Rick Scott go into that airplane. That's Air Force 2 right there. The first plane you saw on your screen, there's Air Force 1 with President Trump inside right now. So here's what's going to happen over the next couple of hours. President Trump and Vice President Pence, along with the First Lady and the Second Lady, will meet with Governor Scott and other officials at RSW. They will get an update on the state and federal reaction to Hurricane Irma. They will talk about what still needs to be done in the recovery effort. Then they will all head to Naples. They will go to Naples Estates. That's a trailer park near Santa Barbara Boulevard and Rattlesnake Hammock Road. They will meet with people there, victims there. That part of Collier County really took a lot of damage. In fact, that particular trailer park had a lot of water, a lot of wind damage, several homes absolutely destroyed in the hurricane. So we understand the president will go and meet with folks there at Naples Estates. Just several minutes ago, we saw Governor Rick Scott board Air Force 2 to join Vice President Mike Pence. So at last check, they were still on the plane. But here, as we see President Trump landing in Air Force 1, they will probably at one point get together at one point and head to the hangar for a briefing on the Irma relief efforts before heading over to Naples. President Trump, of course, a prolific tweeter. Before he headed out of the White House this morning, he did tweet this: "I'm leaving now for Florida to see our great in capitals, first responders, and to thank the U.S. Coast Guard, FEMA, etc. A real disaster, much work to do!" Exclamation point on the end of that. President Trump has not tweeted a lot since Hurricane Irma hit Florida. He did send out a similar tweet last night about coming to the state to meet the Coast Guard and FEMA, the brave first responders and others. He also said the devastation left by Hurricane Irma was far greater, at least in certain locations, than anyone thought, but amazing people working hard. He also, before the storm, tweeted this out: "The U.S. Coast Guard, FEMA, and all federal and state brave people are ready. Here comes Irma. God bless everyone." I'm looking at footage right now of the National Guard just collecting water and other goods, and we see now all these officials and Vice President Mike Pence coming off Air Force 2, as well as Governor Rick Scott that should be on that plane. Their visit is short. They're only going to be here until about a little after 1 o'clock, so they do have a lot to handle between now and the next couple of hours before heading back up to D.C. Of course, this is the second major hurricane to hit the U.S. in just the last couple of weeks. President Trump has visited Texas and Louisiana after Harvey hit there, and we saw the massive amounts of flooding and damage to that area. He did take some criticism on his first trip to Texas after Harvey because he didn't meet with any victims. He did subsequently go again, and he and First Lady Melania Trump handed out food and met with people, and they did meet with people there. Just yesterday, the White House press secretary said, quote, "The president's action during these times demonstrate why he is a true leader who can bring the country together and get things done for the American people." So obviously that is the message here as the president visits Southwest Florida. He wants the people here to know that he is here for them, that the federal government is here for them, and especially the people facing images like you see here. I mean, this is kind of what he's going to see when he goes to Naples Estates. This is the kind of damage. There's reportedly homes like this one right there without walls, outside walls, just interior walls and everything else left exposed to the elements. A lot of water like the images you're seeing here in Naples Estates. It's significant flooding from the storm surge there. Looking live right now at the entryway for the plane on Air Force 1. Saw a lot of people walk off the plane just a little while ago, and the motorcade pull up along Air Force 1. So waiting for the presidential motorcade to get set up here. The pilot closing the door. I expect we're going to see President Trump and the First Lady here shortly coming off the plane. Are we going to go to Jillian at any point? Jillian Idle's there as well, tracking this from RSW. Yeah, here's our look on the ground right now of Air Force 1. You can see all the dignitaries and others there to meet with the president. Jillian, I think, is standing by. I don't know if she can hear us, if we can go to Jillian.
Chris and Jane, I can hear you. So you're looking right now at Air Force One, just landed a few minutes ago. Air Force Two arriving about 20 minutes ago. And like you mentioned, our Governor Scott, going on to Air Force Two and meeting with the Vice President before Air Force One landed. Now they just made their way to Air Force One. I believe they're all going to gather and talk before President Trump gets off Air Force One. Now we understand part of the schedule is once he arrives here, they're going to be briefed for about an hour on Hurricane Irma and the relief efforts taking place throughout Southwest Florida. Once they leave here, though, they're going to be making their way down to the Naples area. It's unclear if they're going to be driving or take a helicopter, but once they arrive down there, they're going to be meeting with hurricane relief victims. They're going to be talking with these victims at the Naples airport. And that's going to last about an hour, and then he's going to make his way back to RSW, and we are at the private sky aviation side of the airport where Air Force One currently is, and he will then get back on Air Force One and make his way back to Washington, D.C. So a pretty quick trip, as it's about 10:44 right now, landed just a few minutes ago, and then he's supposed to be taking off about 1:15 this afternoon. And then just yesterday, our governor mentioned how the President Trump's administration expanded its major disaster declaration for Florida to include individual assistance for 37 counties throughout the state. So we're going to see that and have that impact here in Southwest Florida for many families who are still trying to recover from Hurricane Irma. We understand, talking to people, that there's still lots of flooding and also some structural damage. Due to all of Hurricane Irma and its impacts here in Southwest Florida. Again, we're just still waiting for the president to get off of Air Force One.
I have a quick question for you, if you can hear me. I know it's loud out there, a lot of activity going on. You've been at RSW all morning long. I'm just curious what the airport is like now. Are travelers going to be affected at all by the president's arrival?
Yes, definitely, Chris. So lots of security and also Secret Service present. Now, we were on the commercial side of the airport earlier today, and talking to a spokesperson, they told us that yes, airlines could be impacted by this, that they're used to having high-level and high-profile officials come to this area, so it's nothing new for them, but definitely airlines could be grounded for some time as he makes his way off of Air Force One, and then also when he gets back on to head back to Washington, D.C.
And Jillian, now that we have the camera on you, I'm curious if you know, and you may not know, but obviously there's Air Force One behind you, and it's our understanding, at least, that the President and the Vice President and Governor Scott are going to be meeting with others in a hangar there at the airport. Are you able to tell us where that hangar is, or kind of point out, give us a lay of the land there?
Yes, definitely. So they will be meeting in a hangar here at Private Sky Aviation, and understanding and talking to the owner here. This is as close as we can get. When we got here today, the owner made it a point to let us know that Fox 4 News was not welcomed inside the hangar, although he allowed other local media inside. But for now, we are just going to be outside here awaiting.
First Lady Melania Trump just walking off
the plane.
The plane right now, shaking hands with folks on the ground there. I see the Vice President there as well. I believe his wife, Karen Pence, is on the ground as well.
All right, so he's just shaking employees there at or other officials from around Southwest Florida, shaking their hands. And like Jillian said, expect to be briefed on the relief effort. They're going to go to a private hangar where they are expected to be there for the next hour or so. They're going to leave for Naples around 11:30. So in 45 minutes, they'll leave for Naples, where they will then meet with hurricane victims in that area. And it sounds like they're going to go by helicopter. It should be only a 10-minute flight from Fort Myers Airport down towards Naples Airport.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of hard to see because there's our view is obscured a little bit, but I think I see Senator Marco Rubio. There's Pam Bondi, I believe, and I believe in the hat, the blue hat, which you can't really see right now, is Governor Scott. But there is the president wearing his white USA hat that we have seen so much recently. Unfortunately, he's had to make a number of these trips. This is his third trip to the south to visit an area that has been ravaged by hurricane.
Yeah, he already went to Texas twice after Hurricane Harvey. So his first visit post Irma to Florida, and he is here in Fort Myers now.
Yeah, we also know that in the aftermath of Harvey, he pledged to donate $1 million of his own money to Harvey relief.
So yeah, you were right. That was Attorney General Pam Bondi there, the blonde in there in the distance, and a nice clear picture at times where we can see Vice President Mike Pence is also there. And there's Governor Rick Scott circling around. They will probably be getting into their SUVs to go over to the hangar where they will then be briefed.
Yeah, we do know President Trump has a somewhat personal connection to Hurricane Irma. Of course, his club Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach took a little bit of damage. It's been reported that it didn't suffer any major wind damage.
Relatively unscathed.
But right. And he also has a reportedly $17 million chateau on St. Martin, the Caribbean island, that also was, for the most part, spared any major damage.
Okay, it looks like they are getting into their SUVs, and we'll start that motorcade, at least across the airport, heading over to Sky Hangar. Further briefing.
All right, somebody just got in our ear, and I'm not quite sure exactly what you said.
Francine.
If you could repeat that. All right, are we going back to Jillian? Is that what you mean? Okay, well,
all right.
Let's kind of lay out exactly what's going to happen for the next couple of hours. So the president, as Jane said, will get in that black SUV. He'll go across the tarmac to a hangar where he's expected to meet with federal and state officials. They'll talk about response and what the state needs right now in reference to Hurricane Irma. We do know that many of our Florida congressmen are actively working in Washington to try and get their colleagues, the other senators, the other representatives to approve more disaster relief through FEMA. There has been some concern that because with two straight devastating hurricanes, Harvey and now Irma, that FEMA will not have enough money to take care of everybody that needs it. So we do know that our lawmakers in Washington, D.C. are trying to rally the troops, so to speak, to get them to approve more funding for FEMA.
Well, in the days approaching Hurricane Irma's arrival, before it hit, Governor Rick Scott said every day that he's talked to the White House every day and talked to President Trump every day, and that he was being promised all the federal resources that the state would need. So President Trump here now on Thursday morning, 4 days after Hurricane Irma hit.
Yeah, so they will go and they will talk about these kinds of things. They will be briefed on these kinds of things, and that is expected to last, I guess, maybe now about 35 minutes, 40 minutes or so. Then they will take a helicopter to Naples. Again, they will be going to a place called Naples Estates, which is right off of Santa Barbara Boulevard and Rattlesnake Hammock Road. And it's an area, it's a trailer park, pretty much. It is an area that has seen a lot of damage, both wind damage that just ripped apart houses there, and as well as some water damage. Some parts of that area were underwater for quite some time. So he's going to an area where people have lost pretty much everything, and certainly in that part of Collier County there are a lot of people like that. I met a man just a couple of days ago who grew up in Southwest Florida. He ended up going to college somewhere back east, went to got his master's education there as well, started his career there, but then moved back to Southwest Florida because it was home. And he moved here just in time to have his house destroyed by Hurricane Irma. He lives in Collier County in the Naples area, and he told me he lost pretty much everything. He was quite supportive of Governor Scott. He said he did not vote for Governor Scott, would not have necessarily been a supporter of his, but he was complimentary of the way that Governor Scott has handled the response to this storm and the lead up to the storm as well, in trying to make sure that people evacuated and that they prepared in the right way.
I mean, look at these homes. We've been showing you these pictures for the past few days now since Irma left. But in its wake, the devastation, this area in Naples completely flooded, underwater. A lot of the roofs torn off, flooded, and water damage. And it looks like people are really just going to have to start over. It's just a mess out there, and like you said, I mean, so many people have personal connections to the area, including our own president, and people are coming home, and we're hearing these stories where they've come home only to be ravaged by Hurricane Irma, and of course Naples and Marco Island, parts of the southern part of Collier County, Everglades City, Immokalee, some of the worst areas hit by Irma, and we're going to need some help. We're going to need the federal help to rebuild those areas. Is that First Lady?
I believe that is the First Lady, yeah.
Okay,
so we understand the president is being interviewed right now. It's taking a few minutes to answer some questions. We're going to see if we can go to that live. There we go. Okay, so we're not able to get that audio right now. But he is taking a few questions there from what looks like probably the local media, but also the pool that travels around with the president right now. Or everywhere he goes, they travel around, and I'm sure they are there as well.
All right, we'll try to work on getting the audio part of his interview up. But in the meantime, you can see he is surrounded by media and cameras, and microphones. The SUVs are standing by. Now people are on the move. We saw Governor Rick Scott get into the SUV along with First Lady Melania Trump. And it looks like on the other side there, it looks like President has gotten into the SUV from the other side of the vehicle. Yeah, so the president is coming at a time where it's like small baby steps, small encouraging bits of information are coming in, and obviously we still have a long way to go before things are back to normal here in Southwest Florida. But just a little while ago, the governor's office sent out a release. There had been some concern in the northern part of the state with rivers flooding because of Irma, that the state may have to shut down I-75 because of the Santa Fe River could possibly have flooded over it. Well, the governor's office just sending out a release a little while ago saying that the Florida Department of Transportation has determined that the Santa Fe River has reached its flood level. It is going down, and there will be no need to shut down the interstate, that it can stay open, which really is huge news for a lot of people who are planning on coming home. So many people evacuated when we found out Irma was going to hit our part of the state. So all of those people in the process of coming home right now, good news there is that 75 will not have to close because of flooding. But we're seeing river flooding in our own area too right now. Right. I mean, especially the area of Bonita Springs and Island Park after 10 Mile Canal. At 10:56, it was scheduled at 10:55 that they would start this briefing on the Irma relief efforts at the hangar. So just about on time. You saw the president board that get into the SUV, the Suburban there. He's inside with the First Lady, as well as Governor Rick Scott, followed by Vice President Mike Pence and the Second Lady, as well as other dignitaries. And we saw Senator Marco Rubio there as well. So we expect them to make their way into the private hangar, where they will continue their briefing on the relief efforts after Irma. Yeah, you're looking at our camera on the ground right now. This is a live look, and you can see the massive amount of detail that comes with the president's every single visit. Some of that is security, some is other dignitaries, some is media, to be frank, because a large group of media follows him everywhere he goes. So there they go. We know that they're going into the hangar. Well, they will discuss what is still needed, and I'm sure Governor Scott has a list of things that he would like to see from the federal government in the way of help for people here in Florida. I know gas is going to be a huge issue. There are certain things that the federal government can do to make gasoline flow into our area a little easier. We still have many, many gas stations in Southwest Florida that maybe don't have power or don't have gas or don't have either right now. So there are federal regulations that can kind of be temporarily lifted so that gasoline can be more easily brought into our area, so we can get our gas stations the supply they need. And even as we saw yesterday in some spots, even having that supply doesn't mean you're safe and everything is going to get back to normal. We saw one gas station in Collier County that got a full supply of gasoline, and then just like that sold out in just 2 hours. Right, had to ration it to $30 worth of gas. Not much these days. Again, National Guard, I mean, we've got the forces out. We have power crews from all over the country in our state trying to get things back up and running. And some people really, the ones most in need, are still feeling like they don't have the help that they need. But National Guard is out in full force. The American Red Cross and FEMA are doing their best to try to get the help that some of these smaller communities need now, just in the way of basics, food and water, trying to get cleaned up, trying to get some power, trying to cool off, and then dealing with this aftermath and the damage of some of the neighborhoods. What impresses me most about this scene here at the airport is really, like you said, Chris, is just the magnitude of their presence. But they will be behind closed doors here for the next while before they take off to Naples. Yeah,
then they will take off to Naples. They will meet with people there. We will have a full report of everything that goes on with the president's visit tonight at 6 o'clock. Of course, you can follow us at any time at fox4now.com, as well as the Fox 4 Facebook page.
Thanks for watching Fox 4. We'll return you to regular scheduled programming.